Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Matt from Crypto Coffee Channel here, just here to spend the day with all you guys and talk about some topics that are on everyone's mind. Now, everybody's always asking, am I too late for PulseChain? Am I too late for HEX? Too late for this? I mean, that is just really the wrong way to look at it, especially when you're talking about a thing that hasn't even launched yet. HEX on PulseChain is going to be like its own currency, guys. It's going to be like, I mean, when HEX launches on PulseChain, it's going to be what HEX was intended to be the whole time. It's basically the launch pad for us to start promoting the hell out of HEX, because now you don't have any friction. When you're onboarding somebody, it doesn't cost you $100, $50 to send from Coinbase to MetaMask, another $100 possibly to swap on Uniswap, and then another $50 to stake. It's a nightmare, guys. People don't realize what a big problem it is on Ethereum. And the whole point of PulseChain, guys, was to unlock and enable people like the rest of the world, the 7.7 trillion people in the world. Yeah, all those guys. That's the point of PulseChain. It's to enable these guys to get in and make cryptocurrency really the digital revolution it was supposed to be. So we've got, a better store of value. That's HEX. We've got PulseChain, the network layer, which is really, again, unlocking the people to funnel in. And then you got PulseX, which is this nice, side thing that was created to basically allow you to achieve success based off of the success of the main trading platform on PulseChain, which, we know Uniswap is the most popular application on Ethereum. PulseChain's like Uniswap, but just on Ethereum. I'm going to say what's up to everybody. Bearded Saint, hello. Maza, good morning. James said, looks like you just got up. No, I've been up for a while. Sandy says, good morning, lick the likes. Yeah, please lick the like button, everybody. Push it whatever way you want. Unhexable says, what's up? Hey, CeeLo Productions, what's going on? Sinful Believer, DD Hex Curious. We're early for all three. That is very true, man. Very true. Anyone thinking we're late, it's just that's absurd to me. Hex is 2 years old. PulseChain and PulseX don't exist. Will ETH 2.0. Okay, let's get to the questions in a minute. Let me just finish saying hi to everybody. Alex says thank you. Hex Grassroots says, hey, coffee. Hey, Frank, good morning. Dodgy Hexaking, good morning from New Zealand. Hey, how's it going over there? Things seem pretty good over in your country. I think they're handling things well. I don't know. PulseX is like Uniswap on Ethereum. Yes, it is. Hey, Hexaking girl, good morning from London, Great Britain. Is that the GB means? Sandy Beach, hello, coffee and everyone. Great stream. Yeah. Zach Davis, what up, dude? Good to see you, man. Real High Noon says, what's up, man? Hope you're doing good. The real High Noon. Wow. Not the fake one, guys. There's a fake High Noon out there, so I'm glad we got the real one. What's up, Sonny? Yeah, guys, this is a stream where you can just pretty much ask me any questions you might have. If you're just starting out, that's cool. Like, don't worry about it. A lot of people are new here. PulseChain is bringing in a lot of new people. PulseX is bringing in a lot of new people. And it's confusing, guys. If you hear people talking about all this crazy terminology about, staking and sacrificing and whales and, what this and that, it can be really confusing. So don't be afraid to ask a question. If it's easy enough, I can answer it. I don't know everything, but I'm here to help just answer some of the basic questions about where we're going and some of the sentiment. I made this title kind of like clickbait. I'm not going to lie. The are we too late thing, it's just something that people say over and over, but I want to dispel the myth of you being too late. Now, one thing to know, guys, is that the PulseX sacrifice phase has officially started going up. Like, the rate has started going up every day by 5%. And this is going to be an exponential increase, right? So let me pull up this chart so we can actually look at it. So for PulseX.com, we've raised almost $1 billion so far for the freedom of assembly movement. It's a political statement, and you'll be entitled to get some free coins when PulseChain launches. That's what everybody's doing. That's the way it's launching. It's going to make it just that much easier to fall in line with the regulations and everything. And plus, you're supporting a good cause because you're saying, hey, I want my right to assemble. But anyway, PulseX.com is where you would want to go to sacrifice, right? But look, guys, there's the sacrifice phase with the best deal, the first 10 days or so from December 29th to January 10th. This is over. And you can see we've started moving into the upward cycle, right? The upward increasing rates. So if every day the rate increases by 5%, that compounds on itself, right? So you're getting an exponentially worse rate every day that you wait from now until February 25th. Okay. It's not good. Like, you don't want to, I mean, look, if you even wait like another week, you're going to be paying essentially double the price that the people in the first 10 days were paying. Right now, you're probably still safe. If you missed it by a day or two, that's not the end of the world. You're probably going to be okay. But in a week, it doubles, and another week it triples, and then quadruples, does a 5. And apparently, by February 25th, it's going to be almost $10 per 10,000 sacrifice points. It's a 10 times lower rate, which just means you're going to have to wait basically 10 times longer, or you're going to have to wait for another 10x in the price before you're in profit, as opposed to everybody else that got in, over in the beginning 10 days. So you're not too late for PulseX, right? But you are too late to get in the first 10 days. And so if you have anything to sacrifice, I wouldn't wait on this, because, I mean, once it starts getting up in those upper numbers, you might even just be better off buying on the open market once the thing actually launches. You know what I mean? What do we have in the chat here? Huddle Dog says, brushing your teeth or wiping your butt? You have to give one up. Which would it be and why? Well, Huddle Dog, I would there's an easy answer to this, bro. First, you buy a bidet, and then you give up wiping your butt, and then you can brush your teeth all you want, and it's actually cleaner. So bidet all the way. Come on, guys. Too easy. Let's get some harder questions in here. Some dumper sacrifice for PulseX. Maybe he dumped PulseX on launch, and that's a buying opportunity. Yeah, there will be some probably really short-term minded people that are trying to get a quick flip out of PulseX and not even realizing what it does with the buy and burn function and everything. So there is a reasonable chance that, let's say you missed out on the sacrifice phase, or let's say you're watching this video like 2 or 3 weeks from now and it's like a terrible rate. It's kind of reasonable to assume that some people are going to try to dump their PulseX when it hits, as soon as they can, just because they don't get it, right? These are the type of people that are never really going to get life-changing wealth out of cryptocurrency. They might get a little 2x or something, like, okay, you turned $1,000 into $2,000. Congratulations. But I mean, is that going to change your life? No. I mean, we're in it for the 100x's, the 1000x's, and we're in it for long-term holding, right? So you could take advantage of some of these short-term trader people and potentially buy the dip when it launches. Hey, Brian wants to know another commonly asked question. When am I thinking the launch of PulseChain will happen? Well, my theory is that part of the PulseChain sacrifice phase lasting this long is probably just to buy more time to keep building the hype, keep the hope alive, and just really, software delays are pretty normal. So, I mean, it's not surprising that this has been delayed. I'd say we're lucky if we see it in early March, January, March. If we can release in, I think, first quarter of 2022. So, I mean, sometime in March would still technically be first quarter, right? And it seems reasonable that it's not going to launch until after the PulseX sacrifice is over. So, there's still a lot of work to be done. I mean, relatively, right? It's not as much work as needs to be done on ETH 2.0, for example. I mean, that is just totally screwed. They're talking about 6 more years on ETH 2.0 to fully reach the vision of what they had in mind. And they're trying to do a lot over there. PulseChain is actually a simplified approach because we're copying the vast majority of code from Pulse or from Ethereum. And the only major updates I believe that need to be added right now are sacrifice credit allocations for PulseX and for PulseChain. I think the liquidity bot, from what I've heard, is like in progress or near done. They need to make some updates on the PulseX side to make the Fee2 address, basically just to fix that and to have that be compatible with the buy and burn function. There's a couple of like one-off things that Richard Hart outlined, and you could watch his last stream where he was talking about what's left. What else is there? You need the bridge. The bridge looks like it's almost done. Richard Hart just tweeted Hold on, guys. This is actually pretty cool. Richard Hart tweeted about the bridge just now. So if you haven't heard about it, the bridge is actually looking pretty ready to go. I mean, you can see the actual UI. And so let's get rid of that page. Let's pull up what the bridge kind of looks like. Boom, here we go. PulseChain.com update. Check out what the Ethereum testnet bridge looks like. Ready for public testing soon. So you're going to be actually be able to go to a URL on the testnet and test this out. Swapping is already working. Like the PulseX, Uniswap V2 contract is also already working according to Richard Hart. Although I don't know the URL to go test that out. Be cool if somebody knew that. But you'll be able to go look at this soon, guys. Look, this is what the bridge may or may not look like. It's pretty cool. You transfer and claim tokens. You can either go from Ethereum to PulseChain or PulseChain back to Ethereum. Here they're using Ropsten, which is a test network of Ethereum, by the way, and they're obviously using the testnet of PulseChain too, which is why you see TPLS right here and not actual PLS. But pretty cool, guys. Pretty cool. We're getting really close. So again, I'm thinking March maybe, if we're lucky. A lot of testing needs to go into this stuff, man. Like if you launch this and there are bugs that lose everyone's money, it's a really big deal when there's millions and millions of dollars on the line. Let's see. John May says, bro, you remind me of my childhood friend, Mike F. That not you, is it? No, man. No, my name is Matt, but hey, close enough, man. Close enough. I've been told I have a familiar face. 100 Years says, Huddle Dog brushing teeth because you can do other things to clean it. Yeah, that's right. 100 Years. 100 Years is woke. He knows about the bidet life. Reno Tahoe Real says, HEX contract pays X per T-share. That is not per. Is that per stake or the whole ladder? I.e., let's say I have 10 T-shares across 5 stakes. Yeah, it's that's for the whole ladder, right? I mean, like each stake has its individual number of T-shares, but if you have 10 T-shares total across 5 stakes, then you can just take your total number, multiply that by the HEX payout per T-share per day. Let's say we're getting 6 HEX per T-share per day, and you've got 10 T-shares. You're basically earning 6 HEX per day, which is about $1.50 per day, 25 cents, roughly. And then you can just calculate, well, what if HEX does a 10x from here? Then you're basically making $10 a day, which is pretty great. And so that just over a long period of time gets even higher too, because the payout per T-share is going to rise as the amount of shares goes down. Things are about to take off exponentially, especially when PulseChain launches. So yeah, if you're looking at your total T-shares across 5 stakes, then you just multiply that whole number of T-shares times X T-shares, X HEX per T-share per day, times the number of days, and you can kind of estimate how much HEX you might get paid out. Assuming a constant rate of 6 HEX per T-share per day, which obviously that number goes up over time, which is really cool. So, your answer will be a little conservative. But yeah, I mean, I guess it depends where you're looking. If you're looking on Staker app's going to show you your total across all stakes. But then you can dive into each individual stake and you can see how much is this, how many T-shares does this individual stake get me per day. It just depends what you're looking at, right? I don't know what screen you're looking at. Let's see. Hit the like button. That's right. Thank you, Sandy Beach. Hex Curious says he wants to know about yield farming opportunities that will exist on PLS and PLSX. One of the main yield farming opportunities is going to be this fourth Richard Hart token that doesn't exist yet, guys. It doesn't have a name yet, but when PulseChain launches, there's going to be another token that rewards you for putting up liquidity on the PulseX platform. So what does putting up liquidity mean? Well, you basically just you delegate some of your coins in equal side on both sides of the trading pair. Basically, you're delegating your money to be traded by other people, and for taking that risk, not only do you get some of the trading platform fees in terms of whatever people are trading in that pair, but you also will get this token that doesn't have a name yet, because that'll be the incentive token for people to actually provide liquidity and take the risk of impermanent loss, basically. So let's say there's a HEX PLS or a PLS HEX pair, on PulseX, and you want to put up, you know, $1,000 of PLS on one side and $1,000 of HEX on the other side, you know, whatever number of HEX and Pulse that ends up being, you can let that sit there and you can collect trading fees, and you can collect or farm, basically you can farm the incentive token, which will be dictated by the DAO contract that the PulseX holders will be able to have a say in. So the PulseX holders are going to determine how much of the incentive token they're giving out to everybody. And that'll be one way to yield farm. Now, there's going to be all kinds of projects, you know, offering yield farming. I'd be very careful with that word and don't just jump into every yield farming contract that you see, because there's going to be a lot of unaudited admin key type of stuff, a lot of rug pulls. I mean, Richard said it himself. It's going to be like Rug Fest 2022. I mean, there's going to be rug pulls left and right on PulseChain, guys. Really just try to stick to PulseX, HEX, and, you know, at your own risk, you can look into some of these other cool ones. You know, I'm interested in liquid loans. I'm interested in, but again, I haven't read the audits on liquid loans yet. You know, I need to go do that. I need to make sure there's no admin keys, and I'm 99% sure that there won't be, but got to go verify it with my own eyes. You know what I mean? Bitfinesse said, did you hear everything Richard Hart said during the online HEX conference? I won't repeat it or say it on which day he said things, but he said some very wild things. What did he say? What wild things are you talking? I mean, he said a lot of stuff. I've listened to all of it. Maybe I'll need to go back and listen again, because he does drop a lot of cool knowledge and stuff. Hey, let's see. Ali M says, how can I manage the feeling of being so late in HEX? Well, man, my favorite way to manage the feeling of being late is just to look at Bitcoin, guys. Buying HEX at 770 days. What is it? Day 771 of, let's pull up a chart. Okay. Let's pull up a chart of what Bitcoin was at when it was 771 days old. All right, date range, we'll go from here, 770. All right, let me just pull this up and show you real quick. All right, guys, I know there's a lot of crap on this chart, but if you look right here where it says 110 bars, 77 days, that's putting us at around $8.65 Bitcoin. So just think about a yearly time scale. You know, HEX is going to be around for 10 more years at least, right? So, I mean, it's designed to outlast Bitcoin's life. I mean, it's designed to outlast your lifetime, really. So buying HEX at 25 cents is kind of like buying Bitcoin at $8. So the feeling that it's too late, I mean, just really put things into perspective and know that you're on a yearly time scale. And know all the cool stuff that's coming up, guys. What else is coming up for HEX that we can talk about? There's always stuff. There's going to be, you know, the investment trust, the hedge fund, the grayscale type of vehicle that's going to expose HEX to a bunch of Wall Street investors. You're still early on that. You want to get in before the institutions get in, right? You want to get in before all the big players are coming in. There's people like CEOs of banks and stuff that are talking to Richard Hart and other people about investing millions and millions. So just enjoy the fact that you're in a retail market right now, and it's not diluted or it's not poisoned with, you know, institutional money. And there's really not a whole lot of games being played. Everything is public and viewable. You could see the whales. The whales are just regular people. When they dump, it gets just dispersed to more and more holders. The number of unique stakers is going up every single day. It's up to like about 80,000 almost right now. That number is always growing, so that's a hugely bullish metric. I mean, what else can I say? There's so much to say. Let's see. Got some other stuff. There's the fiat on-ramps that are going to come in. That's going to unlock a whole bunch of retail money to come in. You know, imagine people don't have to do the 2 or 3 step process of buying on Coinbase and then transferring to Uniswap and then setting up a MetaMask and then swapping. You know, it's just a mess. The user experience is a mess. There's going to be fiat on-ramps in the future. You know, we all collectively need to work on them. Richard Hart's only one guy, so there's a lot of people working, and you know, you can take a part in it too if you want to. Staker app V2 is coming out. The application on mobile, Android, and iOS. That's going to go out to thousands and thousands of people. It's already like top rated on the App Store. It's got tons of good reviews, tons of downloads. And once PulseChain comes out, V2 and PulseChain are going to merge so nicely with each other. Staker V2, it's going to be great, like crazy good design. I don't know if you've seen some of the designs. Steph was talking about them at the conference. It's got great user experience, great design, very professional looking. Steph himself is a Google developer, so he's not messing around. He's got Firebun working behind the scenes, and obviously they have designers now, and they've got a solid team of 5 people with over 50 years of experience. So they are a legitimate professional app team that's going to be, you know, they're going to be like the Robinhood for crypto, right? People get Robinhood and they can buy stocks and whatever, and they don't even have to know what they're buying. They can just click a ticker symbol and buy it. It's all super easy with a click of a few buttons. Once people have the power to do that, but with real solid assets like HEX, PulseChain, and PulseX, they're not going to ever want to, like, I mean, it's going to be so easy for them to download the app, look at their future expected stake value, play, you know, there's addicting parts to it, like the ranking system. There's going to be things like achievements. There's going to be custom stake terms that you can sub to make goals for yourself. You know, there's all kinds of cool features that make this so sticky. And Staker app is really adding a gamified element on top of things that is really going to make investing in digital assets fun and addicting, right? So I can't wait to promote that when it actually comes out. And because right now it's kind of hard to onboard somebody with Staker app. It's a great visualization tool, but if you're trying to onboard somebody, it's a little hard without, you know, paying an arm and a leg in fees. Anyway, there's going to be all kinds of stuff. Richard Hart was talking about a new hex.com website update, constantly growing numbers of stakers. Like I said, there's the whole Lindy effect thing where, you know, we've been around for 2 years, 100% uptime. A lot of people were waiting just to see if Hex was a scam or not. Think about all the people that still haven't gotten into Hex because they were waiting for the confidence to get in. Well, what the Lindy effect says is that with every additional interval of time that something exists like flawlessly, like Hex has, there can be an additional increment of time of expected overall lifespan. So something that's been around for 2 years is expected to last a lot longer than something that's only been around for 2 months. You know what I mean? Like things that survive the longest have an implied probability, a higher probability of lasting even longer. Does that make sense? Look up the Lindy effect on Google. So, you know, you've got a lot of the, basically this is a time of some of the biggest risk, you know, because you're investing when people don't know about this yet. You're investing when people still think it might be, you know, kind of scammy or whatever. You are ahead of all these people that are going to find out about it later. Just look at, I mean, if you really need some hope, I mean, look at the number of people in the world compared to the number of users. 7.7 trillion people in the world. 0.000001% of the population has even heard about Hex and, you know, invested and become a staker, right? So imagine if we just move that decimal point over a few places. It's game over, man. I mean, people don't realize how high Hex can go. It can easily do another 1,000x, even another 10,000x. You know, if Bitcoin did a 6.9 million X, and let's assume that Hex can do what Bitcoin did, that would put Hex at $360 today, guys. That would put Hex at $360 from its all-time lows. So, I mean, if you think you're too late, I don't know what else to tell you, man. But those are just a couple of reasons that I don't think we're anywhere close to being too late. AW wants to know, why is orange jam called marmalade? Everyone assuming Pulse holders will easy trade out of Pulse. LOL. I'm not sure. What is this question? I have no idea about the jam part. People are assuming Pulse holders will trade out of Pulse. I don't know about that. That might be the wrong assumption to make. I think there's going to be a lot of people getting into Pulse. And once they're in, guys, they're going to be addicted. It's going to be like a one-way diode. I don't think a lot of people, once they're bridged in from Ethereum into PulseChain, I don't see a lot of those people really bridging back out, guys. They're going to be treated so much better and not basically taken advantage of with fees. They're going to want to stick around and trade. Plus, there's going to be all these new all these new crap coins that they're going to be, don't fall for them, guys. But I'm just saying, I know how people are. I know what people are going to probably do is they're probably going to bridge their stuff over to PulseChain, and they're going to play around on the PulseX platform. They're going to realize trading only costs a penny, and they're not going to want to leave, guys. They're going to be, it's going to be a lot of degeneracy, but in turn, that's actually good for PulseChain because everybody needs to buy PulseChain in order to play in the ecosystem. Hi. Hawk says, hey, buddy, is it best to wait 2 or 3 days before buying PulseChain to wait for the dust to settle? Yeah. I mean, this is what I talked about in one of my last videos. I'm not telling you anything about what to do. I'm just saying the risk is really, really high in those first 2 days before, because there will be a brief period of time in PulseChain before people are able to bridge their assets over. So there's going to be 1 to 2 days where it's just ratio trading, guys. There's not going to be any USD value for any of this stuff. So you're only going to be able to trade on like the PulseX pair, PulseX Pulse pair, or the PulseX Hex pair. So those are going to be 3 major pairs. I mean, there's going to be other pairs as well, but nothing will be connected to a US dollar value for that first couple of days. So like I was saying, what you can do is you can take the sacrifice price, like the best sacrifice price, or potentially the sacrifice price that you got in at. For example, you can just calculate how much dollars of value that you sacrificed and how much coins you got in return. You can divide those by each other and get a USD value for your Pulse coins or your PulseX coins. And then you could see if these ratios end up going below or above that dollar value. Maybe you can make a little trade, but it's very, very risky, guys, because you could end up screwing yourself over. And I think a lot of people will, because they're going to try to act too fast and they're going to try to be smart, and they're not actually that smart. So it's like, it's really hard to tell what the USD value of something is when there's no actual value. You're basically just guessing, and the only metric you have to go off of is the sacrifice price, or maybe you can go off the hex price, right? You can relate the hex price to US dollar, and then you can use that as like the same hex price, but it's not going to be the same, right? The prices are not going to be the same. So it's going to be really hard for you to guess accurately. So yeah, I mean, personally, I'm going to wait 2 or 3 days. I'm going to wait a long time. I'm expecting the dips to come and the bottoms to come about a month after PulseChain launches, a month and a half maybe. So I'm going to be waiting for a while, just patiently waiting, because I don't know if we're going to see those 80% dips right away, or if it's going to take a month and a half like it did when Ethereum launched and all that stuff. Or if maybe we don't even see a dip at all. Maybe there's so much built up FOMO from people that just want to get in that we actually never see prices below the sacrifice prices, which would be really, really crazy. That's a possibility too, guys. But I think it'll be interesting if we see that. What else we got? Do you think this is the last sacrifice? Wouldn't be surprised if another sacrifice happened. Well, the real high noon, I mean, there's all these individual independent projects that Richard Hart's not the founder of that are all copying the sacrifice method, right? So there's all kinds of sacrifices going on. Really, really be careful, like when you're getting into these. If you want to make any side bets on some of these other PulseChain coins, there are a couple that I think are interesting, maybe 3 total that I think are actually interesting ideas. But again, I haven't even vetted them. And there's all kinds of Telegram groups out there if you want to go search around for Telegram groups to get involved in to find out about these projects. But I would not recommend that at all. People are going to do it either way. What happens next? I think this is the last Richard Hart sacrifice phase. Yes, he doesn't need to have a sacrifice phase for the LP rewards token. That one doesn't need a sacrifice phase because that one will can just be distributed from the get-go, just from the DAO contract distributing them appropriately. Sandy Beach is asking about the ratio trading in the first couple of days. Yeah, I still think it's really risky. Like I said, you can try to guess what prices, what the USD prices would be based on your sacrifice prices, but it's also, it might not be totally accurate, right? Once money starts flowing in from Ethereum, shit can hit the fan, basically. What do you think about staking PLS and not penalizing it? I think that's fine. I think PLS wasn't designed to be a staking token. Like, that's not true. it wasn't designed in the way that HEX was designed. Okay, like it wasn't designed to be with the same dynamics for store value that HEX has. So I think delegating your PLS in order to earn transaction fees, number one, is not going to make you nearly as much interest as staking your HEX will. So I think it's going to be much more attractive to stake HEX, but it's just one way to get people to basically delegate their PLS and not sell it. It's a soft, like, it's a soft pump-mental, right? Because there's really nothing penalizing them from just undelegating and basically dumping, but it's not going to really matter too much anyway. It's more just for a way for people to park their money and earn a percentage of transaction fees. I just don't think it's going to be life-changing money, especially at first with delegating PLS. But I know this works in a lot of other systems, right? So you've got a lot of delegated proof of stake systems that work fine. And it's probably just based on the success of those, like Binance Smart Chain, even like Tezos, I think, is delegated proof of stake. There's all kinds of systems out there that have set the precedent for this kind of thing. And I think on the network layer 1 layer, it would just be way too complicated to try to have penalties involved. And you don't just want to make a clone of HEX, right? The network layer is a separate token. The network layer scales with network effects, whereas like the HEX price scales with the number of people staking. Let's see. I've seen OGs like Conrad talking multi-$1,000 HEX in 2 to 5 years. Are you in that camp? Just doesn't seem right to me. In 2 to 5 years, I don't know about $1,000 HEX, but I can see $100 in the hundreds, right? I don't know. I don't know how fast HEX can go if the liquidity conditions remain friendly to retail. And if it's a retail-friendly liquidity environment and we get some huge players in, they can pump the price massively. I mean, HEX is really the first cryptocurrency that's optimizing for price performance. Everything about it is optimized for the price to go up, right? And that includes the liquidity conditions. You know, that liquidity has to match the volume. You know, I mean, and it has to kind of match the. It doesn't have to match the volume. Liquidity conditions should be such that the players in the ecosystem can't move the price too much or too little, right? And so it's based on kind of the trading activity. I guess you could say the volume or the number of the size of the orders and the trades going on should be able to match the amount of liquidity in the pools to a degree where there's not too much slippage, but there's not so much liquidity that the price doesn't even move. And so after learning this, and by being primarily tied to automated market makers, you can set ideal liquidity conditions for every step along the way. So unlike Bitcoin, which, you know, there's all kinds of exchanges and central limit order books and hidden orders and people doing over-the-counter trades, if we can keep a lot of the liquidity and a lot of the trading on HEX done through decentralized exchanges, you know, I think the price can go up a lot more and a lot faster than it did with Bitcoin. It's already outpacing Bitcoin. We can pull up another chart. Look into hex.com. Shout out to Gerardo. This one shows HEX versus Bitcoin, and you can see that the growth, the ROI growth of HEX basically is outpacing Bitcoin. Look right here, guys, the pink line. When Bitcoin was 2 years old, HEX is at about a 659 ROI multiple, where Bitcoin at this time was at about 108. So it's like over 6x where Bitcoin was. And that's just due to the trading environments, right? And also the price dynamics and the contract and the community and everything that HEX is doing right that Bitcoin had to learn the hard way. Bitcoin launched and nobody even cared about it at all. People called it a scam for so long. It didn't have decentralized exchanges. It didn't have an insulated network layer. The code wasn't modular. You know, there were bugs in the code. HEX has never had a bug. I mean, there's all kinds of things that HEX is doing better that I think are a result that result in the ROI multiples being way higher at this point in time. So check out look into hex.com. It's pretty cool. All right. What else? Rent is due says, CC, what do we have to do to make people understand how important T-shares are? So many focus on price and not T-shares. Yeah, well, people have to understand what they are. So for new people coming in, there's a share system in HEX, right? So let me try to explain this really simply. Every time you stake your HEX is effectively burned, and in return you get shares, okay? And there's basically a deflationary, shares are currently deflating in the system. So they're becoming more and more scarce every day because there's more shares expiring than are being created. So when you start a stake, you burn your HEX and you mint shares. And your number of shares as a proportion to the entire share pool and also your length of time stake determines how much interest or how much yield you accrue by the time your stake is over and every day. And then when your stake is over, you're burning your shares again, and then you're minting new HEX into existence. So on the way in, you burn HEX, you mint shares. On the way out, you burn shares, you mint HEX. Okay, and that's really cool because there's basically a competition for shares. All the shares from the original stakers, like in the launch phase, the share rate was so low, basically, that people could stake, thousands of T shares, and they were creating all these new T shares, right? So T shares for a while were being created at a faster rate than they were being destroyed, because it was kind of like the Big Bang, it was the explosion. Out of nothing, there was everything. So everybody started creating these stakes, and the number of total shares in existence was minted to a certain point. And as of recently, we finally started to see the total number of shares actually deflating, because some of these original stakes that had a lot of shares, much more than everyone else could currently afford, a lot of these shares are expiring. And so as they're expiring, people are either selling or they're trying to restake to get the same number of shares. But the price of T shares in HEX terms goes up every day. So it always becomes more and more expensive to get the same number of shares for the same number of HEX. And you can never really, unless you're staking longer, let's say you made a 5-year stake a year ago. Well, you can't get the same number of T shares with that same number of HEX today. And by the way, T share stands for trillion shares. Okay, so B share stands for billion shares. The units of shares are a lot. It's very high units because, again, it is deflationary. So you want these units to be high. So people don't realize that, it's basically a competition for T shares. In HEX, people are trying to collect the most shares that they can in the system to lock in their position, and basically ensure that as a proportion of all the total interest that's being paid to the staker class, they're getting a larger part of the pie, right? The more shares you have out of the total share pool, that the bigger slice of the pie you have, the more of the inflation of HEX's total inflation that you're getting, right? So you want to make sure that you lock in these rewards. People are trying to lock in their ability to mint all this HEX, because it gets harder and harder to do, because, again, the price of shares in HEX terms is always going up. Every time a stake ends, the price of shares goes up, because now there's less shares in the pool, and it just gets calculated that way. I mean, it's if you want to be a trader and you want to try to time the market and you want to lose all your money, then don't worry about staking. Just be a trader and lose all your money. But basically what HEX is, it's like one of the first cryptocurrencies. If Ethereum is programmable money, then HEX is programmed money, right? And if you're going to program money, like Richard Hart said, the first program should be interest or yield. And so HEX is yield, the yield program, done as a store of value that produces yield that has better game theory than Bitcoin, right? So that's just, the share aspect is one element to the whole system. But if you want to use HEX how it was intended to do, you basically want to lock up all your HEX, because it's an income producing asset with minimal overhead, right? There's not many income producing assets in the world. And that's how the wealthy people make all their wealth. They buy things like real estate, where, investment properties, people pay them rent every month. That's an income producing asset. Well, HEX, the HEX itself doesn't produce any income. The shares produce income. The shares are the income producing assets. That's why people are trying to rack up the number of shares that they own. And it's an income producing asset with less overhead, right? You don't have to worry about, hey, this guy didn't pay his rent this month, or the toilet broke, I got to go repair the toilet. It's such minimal overhead. You just keep track of your private keys, keep them safe, and make yield when your stakes are over. And then make a staking ladder, and then rinse and repeat. As your stakes come due, you can sell any yield that you might want to sell to pay for your life, and then you can restake all the principal or more. And you can restake it all the way down the line for 15 years for the max length. And people are just, cycling that over and over. So that's what people people that understand the system. That's what they're actually doing. What up, Zach Davis? This is probably a new question. I sacrificed 4,000 hex for PulseX on the first day. At that time, it was worth 1,200. Now it's like 850. Well, good. I mean, you're in luck because so you're asking, is the USD amount going to be counted on the day you sacrificed, or will it take the hex USD price on the day the sacrifice phase is over? Zach, you are in luck, my friend, because it's going to take it from that day. It takes it on a 30-minute weighted average. So if you sacrificed at $1,200, it's going to be worth $1,200. You're going to get the advantage of having that better price. It takes 15 minutes before you sacrificed and the price 15 minutes after you sacrificed. And it takes the 30-minute weighted average price. So it'll probably be somewhere around $1,200. So don't worry about that dip. That's why everyone that got in on day one of the sacrifice is a lot happier because HEX took a dump right after that. So yeah, you're going to be good. The price you got in at is based on the time as well. It's based on the price that things were in the half-hour time zone, basically before and after you sacrificed. Hopefully that wasn't a complicated way to say it. Basically, yeah, your sacrifice points are based on the dollar value of the coin you sacrificed at the time you sacrificed it. How's that? AOK says, would it have been better to relaunch HEX on Pulse? No, it's not better to relaunch HEX on Pulse. That's a terrible way to look at it. There's too many whales who will dominate EHEX. That the same whales are going to exist on Pulse, and those guys are basically the ones holding up the price. So AW says the ETH price in 6 years will negate any 2.0 improvements. At least we have a symbiotic relationship. Yeah, ETH 2.0 isn't like a competitor to PulseChain. It's going to take load off of PulseChain. Both of these things can exist simultaneously and symbiotically, whatever. Yeah, people don't realize it's not like if ETH 2.0 comes out, then there's no need for PulseChain, right? Fees are probably still going to be high if Ethereum is bloated and if Ethereum's price is really high. So PulseChain is helping take load off of Ethereum. Any applications that want to move over and migrate over can, and applications that don't want to don't have to. Let's see what else we got here. Hey, how many points will equate to one PLSX coin? Shabazz, so the good question, it's basically 1 point per coin. So if you sacrificed $1 for 10,000 points, that would be 10,000 coins. At least that's what was true for PulseChain. I'm pretty sure that's also true for PulseX. It's going to have a very high number of circulating coins, and that's due to the unit bias problem. So people really prefer to have a lot of coins, numbers to the left of the decimal place. People don't like, it's not cool owning 0.0007 Bitcoin, right? People would much rather own full real numbers of things. So, but yeah, it's $1 per 10,000 points and then 1 PLSX coin per point. Can you explain Hart's Law briefly, please? Yes, I did explain this on previous videos as well, but it's essentially that the prices of coins are bonded to their primary liquidity pairs, right? So, for example, if you have the price of HEX, the main liquidity pool in HEX is the HEX ETH pair, right? And it's bull market and the price of ETH is going up, and HEX is primarily priced in ETH. Well, then if nobody traded HEX at all, and if nobody bought or sold HEX and the price of ETH just went up, well, the price of HEX would go up by default because HEX is primarily priced in Ethereum. This is the same with NFTs, right? Everyone has to buy their NFTs using Ethereum. So when Ethereum is going up, this inflates all the prices of NFTs because this NFT that was worth 2 Ethereum when Ethereum is $1,000 is now worth 2 Ethereum when Ethereum is $4,000. And then, the price of that NFT is now worth $8,000 or whatever it is. And so this is really bad on the way down, right? This is an amplification effect on the way down because if your main liquidity pairs, if the base units are falling in price, in USD price, and let's say HEX is still connected to Ethereum and tied heavily to Ethereum, well then HEX is basically bonded to Ethereum's price on the way down as well. So it acts like an amplification effect, which is why in order to insulate yourself from this, you can tie your primary liquidity to USDC in a bear market, because it basically, people can trade HEX versus USDC primarily rather than having to trade HEX for Ethereum. So they don't have to jump through Ethereum before they jump into HEX. They can just get in and out of HEX at their own leisure. And so if shit is hitting the fan with Ethereum, right, and Ethereum is dropping, the sky's falling over there, well, we have our own little party over here. You know, we're not really connected to those Ethereum guys, right? They're having their own little club and their own little party. Their party got busted by the cops, but you know, we're at the cool kid's house over here. So his mom is letting us drink in the basement. You know what I mean? Spike says, "What's up, peeps?" Cool. Potato Gang says 1000X is only taking the price for. There's a lot of decimal points in here. I don't even want to read that. I'm sorry. I think you're saying the number is going up, which is good. HEX Curious says, "Thanks for answering a question. Quick follow-up. So I can provide liquidity with my PERC20s and PLS. That's the pair you're talking about, correct? Where does PLSX come into play?" PLSX is just a coin that exists, and it lets you vote on who to reward for providing liquidity, and it goes up in price based off the buy and burn function. That's all it does. So it's basically just a coin that goes up based on the success of the platform. So yeah, you can provide liquidity with your PRC20s is what they're called, not PERC. It's just PRC. So yeah, you can provide liquidity if you want to with your PRCs and your PLS. You can also provide liquidity with your PLSX if you want to put some of that up on like the PLSX PLS pair, for example. But I mean, PLSX is just another coin to trade. So it's another coin to buy and hold, in my opinion, not to trade. I should be clear about that. It's attractive to hold because, you know, the more volume that's done on the PulseX platform in general, the more fees are generated and the more fee. And as we know, for PLSX, you know, fees are used to buy up the price of PLSX and then burn PLSX. So buying it makes the number go up. Burning it makes the supply go down. These are two things that are good for the price. It's deflationary, so there's no more PLSX being minted ever. PLSX is just an attractive coin to buy and hold because it's based on the success of PulseX, and we can all, you know, bask in the glory together. Like, it's not, you can provide liquidity for it too. If you want to put up some of your PLSX coin and some of your PLS coin for that liquidity pair, go for it, you know, but you're taking the risk of impermanent loss. American State says, "Rug pull is theft. All thieves go to hell." Yes, go to hell, thieves. Oh yeah, Richard Hart. This is my favorite quote of his in the last the conference. He basically just said, "I'm going to throw some money around in 2022." He is building an empire. He's building a team, guys. He's been doing way too much on his own, and I'm so glad to hear that he's finally going to be trusting some people to develop a lot of the things in the ecosystem that we need. You know, fiat on-ramps, the investment trust. These are just two of the things that I know he wants to build. And so I know he also wants to build his own wallet. So imagine your own version of MetaMask. Let's say MetaMask goes down one day. Well, great. We don't have to care about that. You know, the Binance Smart Chain already made their own copy of MetaMask. PulseChain may one day make their own copy of MetaMask as well. I would assume he might throw some money in advertising. It's fun to speculate on where that money will be thrown. But again, you can't have any expectations of profit from the work of others. So who knows? He's probably just going to be buying more Louis Vuitton ducks or something like that. Let's see. My HEX gain's going to set up a banking on-ramp. Is that what we are saying? What we're saying is that people are likely working on a fiat on-ramp. That's all we're saying. I mean, there's no launch date. It takes a long time to do that kind of thing. You need a lot of licenses in the USA. There's a lot of states that require money transmitter licenses. And we've got fiat on-ramps in Europe, I'm pretty sure. Like, isn't Indocoin? Don't they sell Hex with credit card? Indocoin and Ramp potentially. There's a lot of existing crypto payment processors too. So companies like Simplex and stuff, maybe people can also reach out to these existing companies and see if they'd be willing to integrate Hex and PulseChain into them, right? So look up Ramp, look up Indocoin, look up CoinSwitch, Chain Jelly, Simplex, a lot of these USD Transac, TRANSAK. That's one of them. There's a lot of popular fiat on-ramps and off-ramps that exist, but they just don't sell Hex and PulseChain. So one alternative strategy would be try to collaborate with an existing fiat on-ramp and off-ramp. If that's what you guys want to do in your spare time, that might be a quicker way to get what we want. But it would be cool to have our own Hexagon run fiat on-ramp and off-ramp, where you just go to a website, click buy, and then boom, you're in. Let's see. Did you see the overall T-share payout per day increase per day over the years? Yes, I did, which is really, really exciting. It just finally started increase. So the daily payout in HEX per T-share has been around like 5.9 pretty much every day for the past year, and it's just starting to lift up and get off the ground right now. And that's because we finally reached an inflection point where shares are being burned at a faster rate than they're being minted. Because of this, in the future, and we're talking like RuneSkees is saying, in 2025 to 2037, we might be looking at 9, 10, 11, 12 hex per day per T-share. And when hex is $1, that's $12 a day, something like that. We can look at what was it? Stakehex.today. Yeah, let's look at stakehex.today. Yeah, so it's around that 2025 mark where things are really going to pick up. And it's exciting that we're already seeing the liftoff right now. But for example, look at this, right? This is, if you're making 10 test stakes, look at this gray line here. You can change this marker, but what they have estimated is that we start getting into the 7 area around 2025, and then we might one day be as high as 17.9. Or we can go even higher. And then the daily payout per hex per T-share has a big impact on your overall projected outcome. So go to stakehex.today if you want to play around with this. It's pretty cool stuff. That's stakehex.today. Oh, Professor Jeff got the Wikipedia definition. The Lindy effect is the future life expectancy of some non-perishable thing, like a technology or an idea, is proportional to their current age. That's a good way to put it. Thanks, Professor Jeff. Yeah, so the longer something's been around, basically the longer it's expected to continue to be around. Things like Facebook or whatever, if it withstands the test of time, it only gets stronger the more it survives, Do you think crypto will eventually take over or replace fiat? Well, I think fiat will become crypto. We're going to have central bank digital currencies, unfortunately. But I'm hoping we get to live in a world where we actually have options and where people, just like the internet, we're lucky we live in a country where the internet's not censored. But I think eventually, I'm hoping a similar thing happens with crypto, and people have options of what payment mechanisms to use, and they have options and freedom to choose which cryptocurrencies they want. I think there's going to be all kinds of cryptocurrencies and central bank digital currencies in the future. I would like to see a future where we have the freedom to choose. And, there's some countries where that looks more likely than other countries. I hope that America, maybe if there's anything we can bank on about America, it's that the government is so unorganized and convoluted, and there's so many competing interests, and capitalism has crept in that basically nobody can really get their shit together and get organized enough to be authoritarian. Basically the disorganization is pretty much the only thing slowing us down from reaching an authoritarian kind of regime. But it seems to me that there are people out there that would like to create more of that would like to take away freedom, basically. So I hope that doesn't happen. And I got to be careful with what I say on YouTube as well. Should I sacrifice for PLSX or just buy PLS? Yeah, that's one of those what should I do questions. I don't answer those kind of questions. I mean, you got to make that decision yourself, man. I mean, I told you all the information about what these things are. Go in my previous videos, but you gotta make that call on your own. What do we got? You're not early or late. You are just on time. This is a great way to look at things. It's very zen. Blood in the streets. Yeah, hey, I mean, Greenhorn's got a good point. There's blood in the streets of crypto and stocks. The Fed is talking about planning on raising interest rates. Everyone's all scared. HEX is a shining beacon of hope. And when there's blood in the streets, guys, usually that's opportunity, right? Because if you're basically just banking on the fact that, yeah, all this stuff is going to survive and it's not going to die forever, right? Are they going to let the entire economy fail? Is the whole world going to just explode? Like, if not, buy the dip, guys, buy the dip. Not financial advice. Sandy Beach says, will the T-share price on PHEX be lower than on EHEX? I've read it might be the same. Well, in HEX terms, it's going to start off as being the same, but I believe that it's probably going to increase faster on PulseChain because I think people are going to be opening a lot more stakes on PulseChain because it's way cheaper. So I think even though the T-share price will start at the exact same point on PHEX and EHEX, it's very quickly going to go up higher on PHEX, I think. So people aren't going to want to start as many stakes on a chain where it costs them $50 to do so. You know what I mean? Let's see. Hey, bro, just joined the stream. What are we supposed to do with the free PulseX tokens we receive? Dude, you just don't do anything. I mean, you can buy them and hold them and wait for the price to go up, and then you could sell them years later for profit. You don't have to do anything. One thing you can do is you can vote in a DAO contract, and you can help vote on which people you want to reward with a liquidity provider incentive token. So if you have certain liquidity pools that you want to see more liquid, you can use your PulseX tokens to vote on which of those liquidity pools you would like to see rewarded. Hey, just got a nice tip from Pulsating Hexgasm. Do you just want me to read your name? Do you think for a short time I can pick up more T-shares for my buck early on in the Pulse mainnet? Can we go to PulseX.com for providing liquidity? Thanks. Yeah, so your second question, yes. Yeah, PulseX.com is going to be just like uniswap.org, and that's where you're going to go to provide liquidity. Your first question, do you think for a short time you can get more T-shares for your buck early on in the Pulse mainnet? Yeah, I think there will be a time. I mean, when there's still price discovery, especially going on in HEX, you might see an opportunity for really cheap T-shares early in the mainnet. You might. So I would get ready for that. I mean, if you're talking about the USD dollar value of T-shares, I mean, T-shares are going to launch at the same HEX price per T-share, but then again, HEX on PulseChain is going to have a different price than HEX on Ethereum. So if you see HEX on PulseChain at a kind of a lower price than HEX on Ethereum was and is, that might be a great idea to pick up a lot of T-shares if you see HEX on PulseChain at a lower point temporarily. Am I related to Sly Stallone? No, sir. PulseChain SAC still rising. Yeah, people are still sacrificing for PulseChain. I mean, you're getting a worse rate now, but it's not that bad. In a week or two, it's going to get pretty bad. So I think we're going to. My prediction is that we're going to easily see $1 billion sacrificed by the end of this whole thing. I mean, that's just insane, guys. $1 billion. With PulseChain itself, we had 670 million, I think. But yeah, I mean, if you're including the coins that are only on the Ethereum chain right now, we're at what, 870 million. And then there's a couple million, maybe 30 to 50 million that are coming in from other blockchains. So we're already in like the 900 range. It's not going to take much more for us to get to $1 billion. So how crazy is that, guys? Saren K says, should I buy HEX before or after Pulse launch? I'm big on Pulse and would like to, and what to further in the ecosystem. Okay, well, first part of your question is, again, what should I do? I don't tell people what to do. I don't give financial advice. But if you buy before launch, you can have a copy of both on both chains. So doesn't that seem better? Especially at a 50% discount from all-time highs? That seems better to me. Buying before the fork seems like you're going to get more opportunity. All right, guys, we're at 1 hour. Thank you all for coming. I'll do one more question. What is the reason for HEX not showing properly on coin ranking sites? CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko are corrupt, and they're really, really terrible at their jobs, right? So they manually list HEX at rank 201. Sometimes they forget, and they list it on page 1 in like the 8th spot or 5th spot like it's supposed to be. But they're just gatekeepers, guys. They don't want HEX to succeed. HEX poses a real threat to their actual business model because it's truly decentralized. One thing you should know is that CoinMarketCap is owned by Binance. CZ bought CoinMarketCap, so they censor the content, and they don't just censor HEX. They censor a lot of coins that they don't like, that they might see as a threat. Who knows? And there's a lawsuit right now that's currently trying to sue CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko for basically hiding HEX from a lot of people that missed out on the past 2 years. I mean, it's not too late, but hiding something like that for 2 years is really just really evil. Hey, thank you so much, Max Troya. Thank you for the $10 tip. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Hey, Lasse Raffen, thank you so much for the tip. I hope I said your name right. What if all sacrificed HEX is used to liquidate 2 HEX pair? To liquidate. So you're saying, what if all the sacrificed HEX is just sold? Well, that's the risk we're all taking, guys. I don't think it's going to sell. If you can look at the sacrificed HEX as if it's going to some kind of origin address type entity, I'm putting my money on the sacrificed HEX not being sold to liquidate anything. So that seems like a pretty easy bet for me. All right, thank you guys for coming. I'm going to cut it off at the hour mark. Guys, you're the best community ever. So excited about HEX and PulseChain in the future. And like I'm really hoping 2022 is a great year for all of us. I think it will be. I think we're going to decouple from the rest of crypto. I think we're going to start our own ecosystem and just do things the way crypto is supposed to be. So it's awesome, guys. You're still early. You're not too late. Don't worry. So much opportunity on the table for 2022. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Oh, and go watch Crypto Heartbeat. He's live. All right. Bye.